go live.
All right, so we are live.
We're
Hitting
live.
go live over here.
Yeah, as soon as it pops up, it gives you a little preview. You can go. There we go.
I see
Boom.
it. Okay.
Go live. Go live. Cool. We got a
All
few
right.
people in here already.
We're live.
What's going on,
Oh,
guys? Thank you for joining us today live with my man Tony from Iris Film. So as we wait a few moments for people to kind of start rolling in, whether you're live inside of the chat here on StreamYard or on either of our IG accounts, chime in and let us know where you are watching from. So we got somebody in the comments. Michael, what's going on, bro? How you doing?
what's going on, guys? What's up, Mike?
Let's see. We got a few people. We got a few people on Instagram here. Got it.
So, Mike, I'll be talking about video stuff and focusing on doing some trying to go viral videos, and just kind of showcasing your own style and your own way of doing videography at weddings and events and stuff like that. So.
Cool. I see Chicago, Atlanta, the L Suite. I see you there. Massachusetts, Nikki. Nikki, I don't know if you knew,
Hey.
but I actually grew up in Boston. So there's that. We got Montana, Dallas.
I see Dallas there. I'm from Fort Worth before Atlanta, so
Oh, word. That's what's
that's
up.
dope.
Jamel from
That's dope.
PPA is in. Alexis. Eric is in. We got Richmond. Michael, wow, you're up in Grand Rapids, bro. It's probably like it's July. It's probably still 50 degrees there.
Yeah, it probably feels great.
Oh snap! Well, we thank you all again for joining us today. We won't wait too long for people to start trickling in. But if this is your first time here watching us on the live, do know that, this live for sure, we're actually doing a giveaway for the Bokeh Photo Summit. So if you are already attending the Bokeh Summit, then go ahead and chime in and let us know that you're going to be joining us here next month. But as we start to go through the process of the talk, we enter all of the names in for a drawing, and we use those names based on your interaction, you guys asking questions and that sort of thing. So I'm going to assume that most of the people that are here today either do videography or do photo and video. So I'll just go ahead and make that assumption. But if you're new to video and you're trying to, get some information, just kind of learn, chime in too. Let us know, that you're a noob and you're trying to get in this video space that can be quite a headache, which Tony and I were just
Listen,
talking about prior to jumping on the
I,
line.
I got into this 14 years ago, and I getting into it now is a challenge.
Bet,
But
bet.
you got it. You guys got it. But it is a challenge. You gotta. I mean, it's more important now than ever to really uh, focus on yourself, your own kind of visual creativity. It's very
Right,
tempting to kind of see what's popping and try to emulate that, but you got to create your own lane and then get the people copying you. So that it's very crucial to kind of find your own voice, especially these
right,
days,
right.
man, because you're not just fighting other videographers, you're fighting content creators, you're fighting I mean, photographers are coming out with their own people. I mean, everyone's a phone is a videographer, so
Right,
you know so it's
right,
crazy.
right. So we're gonna go ahead and just get the ball rolling, right? So, you know, I've known you for quite a few years, which
Yeah.
ironically enough, we've known each other for quite a few years, but we haven't been in proximity that many times. It's been like some crazy number of years that we've known one another, but we
Yes.
haven't been in the same place at the same time quite often. I think we've only even had one wedding together, right?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, one
Crazy.
wedding. So you kind of touched on it briefly, but tell the people a little bit about yourself. I know you said you've been in for 14 years. Tell us how you got started, and
Yeah.
we'll start there.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I just said, I was in Fort Worth, Texas for a long time, but born in Memphis, but moved to Georgia because I went to SCAD, a school called Savannah College of Art and Design down in Savannah for my master's in film. The dream back then was, doing the full directing, the full Hollywood, New York, that whole thing. It didn't quite pan out that way, but I after Savannah, I got a job as a producer in Atlanta and did that for 5 years. And the job was great. But I started doing weddings on the weekends just for extra money. And like I said, the job was great, but that corporate life, it wasn't really corporate, but having the schedule, the boss, the cubicle, the whole deal was never really me. So when my weddings started blowing up, um, it just afforded me to be able to leave that and focus on weddings full time, which I didn't even know at the time what led to me doing all kinds of other corporate stuff, celebrity stuff. And it's just all about showing up, good personality, and kicking ass at the job, always providing. The goal is to get clients their stuff and have no edits, no, and just positive feedback. So that's always the goal going in. And
Right.
back then, weddings back then were like wedding videography was like bottom of the barrel vendor, if they got it at all. And it was a lot of like your uncle with a handy cam kind of footage, a lot of zoom ins, zoom outs, and just basic stuff. And so when I started doing it, it was more like taking a cinematic approach, which you see all the time now, but back then you didn't really see that often. And I think that kind of helped grow me uh, pretty big, pretty early. Um, and but even now, it's all about what I try to tell people. It's really focusing on that storytelling, whatever you're filming. And gear is something, lenses are something, but really, it's all about storytelling, whether it's a wedding or corporate or anything. But yeah, so it's just been a journey that's led me down some really cool roads, and it's just been blessings all around. So
Yeah, man. Because even for those who don't know, Tony and I are both in Atlanta, right? And although I do video, I only take a small number of video jobs per year. I only take 5. He does video like full time. So again, we did have that one opportunity where we were working the same job, which was pretty a fairly high profile client. We had the mayor there, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so it was pretty low key, discreet. This was during COVID or whatever, right? But
yeah.
like you said, you had the ability to be able to go in and do some awesome jobs for some really high profile celebrities. Tell them a
hmm
little bit about that, because obviously I know, but tell them about some of the people that you had the opportunity to do and work for.
Let's see. So my first big celebrity was um, I started doing NFL weddings, and oh gosh, now I'm running a blank of what his name is. That's terrible. There was a guy. God, what's his name? He plays for Cincinnati. Anyway, he was my biggest. I'm blanking now, but he was my biggest first NFL wedding, which led into other few NFL weddings. But then with celebrity stuff, I guess my first big one was I did Cardi B's baby shower, and then some stuff for Migos. Quavo did some stuff for Easter. He did like a Huncho Day, so I did that for like 3 years with them. Did his birthday party, and what's some other ones? A lot of stuff with BET, um, Rick Ross's birthday party, just some random stuff.
Yeah, I remember the Rick Ross joint. Yeah, yeah.
that
Yeah.
that that was crazy, bro. It was out
I
at his
can
out at his mansion, out in the middle of nowhere, and
say it, man.
I remember just filming, and suddenly the door opens up behind me, and I turn around. It's Khaled walking there with a big fur, and Meek Mill's giving him bracelets. I mean, it's crazy. It was a real intimate setting, but like at the house, everyone starts puffing up, and I was getting high
Yeah.
just filming around this place. It was nuts. It was
Almost
nuts.
almost dropped your camera,
Yeah, listen, man. Yeah, I got a jib shot just by floating up.
huh?
It's
Oh,
crazy.
man, that's what's up. So
But the
let's get
celebrity stuff is good. I mean, listen, it's great, but it is still just another job. You know what I mean? And there is some more pressure under that. You got to really deliver. You got to really be there, and because whoever brings you onto that job is relying on you a lot to kind of nail it. So not only do you have to show up, you got to really kick ass. Um, and then get things out quick. It's got to be like those are
get
like
that
overnight edit
tape.
type things. So
Right. Yeah, man. So that's the biggest thing too. Like I think people don't really understand that too. It's like when you're doing the celebrity events or events for people that are more high profile or whatever, if you have your I got a 6 week delivery time or a 2 week delivery time,
yeah,
that that does not apply because they want that
that
stuff to
does not
go.
apply.
Hey, and for photo, it's easy. It's way easier now than what it was 5 years ago, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so much easier now with things like After Shoot and Evoto to kind of help you along the way. But for video, there's no
bro.
skipping with video.
And back then it was like the computers even couldn't handle it. First of all, I was switching to 4K with the computer I had back when I switched to 4K
Right.
was a disaster because then you got to make proxies, which imagine just dumping the footage and then making proxies and then doing all this. By the time there, you're like 3 hours in that you could have been editing, and
Right.
so that delays the long night of that edit, just by not even getting started yet. So, yeah, it was tough, man. But now it's a lot easier. You just plug in and start. Once you drop the footage, you just start going. Um, but yeah,
So let's pop into one question right quick. The
yeah, I
Elsie,
see some questions over here.
yeah, on my Instagram, she's asking, how did you find your very first clients?
So the first wedding I did was someone who went to SCAD, and I didn't know them, but a friend of mine knew them and said, "Hey, they're getting married," and I did it for like $500, um, and just went out there. It was like 3 hours away or something, and I said, "Hey, I'll do it for 500, and just if you can do my hotel and basically that's it." Uh, and they were super sweet, and it was really finding a groove and trying to, that was a learning process. The whole first couple of years was a big learning process. Like one thing that always I remember was forgetting to mic the groom until like the second he's about to walk out, and then realizing I don't have my microphone on me. It's with my bags back at like it was at Collinwall. Is that how you
Oh
say it? You know
yeah,
that event? Yeah. So
yeah,
it was like in the house, and we were out in like the garden. So
right.
I'm hauling, I mean, running my ass with with the music going, and like getting back to, here you go, and then but that kind of thing, I've never done that again. It's those kind of moments that you really have to you have to experience them so you never happen again. So, uh, but yeah, so that's how I got my first one, was just a friend referral. They loved it, they shared it, and then I was reaching out to local planners, but I didn't have anything to show, so it's just kind of like. But my mom in Texas owned a flower shop and was really successful. And so I was always in the wedding space because I'd help her. She'd do really big weddings in Texas.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was in that wedding world. And so I started reaching out to those people too, just connections she had, and said, "Hey, I'm doing videography now," and so I started getting a few that way through those connects. But I guess if it boils down to it, it's just kind of reaching out and just connecting to people, um, and being personable. I mean, I can't express how much being personable in this industry is where it's at. You really want people that you can vibe with, even when you're not filming or not working. That's so crucial, especially if you start doing travel gigs, and you're with these people outside of the hours. And if you're kind of like very, and I'm pretty, what do you call it? Um, what do you call it? Shy, I guess,
Mm,
but introvert.
right.
But you could be introvert, but you got to be friendly. I mean, so being friendly goes so far, because that's what brings, like, oh, not only is his work great, but he's cool. I can chill with him. So that brings people wanting to call you back. So
Yeah, definitely. I don't think people understand how sociable this job is. Like even me,
yeah,
like I've always been pretty introverted as well. For those who know me at conferences and stuff, you know that I'm a lot different there. I'm out there, I'm networking, I'm talking to everybody, I'm answering all of your questions and stuff like that when I see you or whatever. But outside of that, I can go days without talking to another soul sitting in this house or whatever because I'm generally by myself, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
let's see. So on Instagram, iFly Delta, she's asking what system would you recommend to speed up your workflow? Now, is that a question about editing gear or is that like gear in general? So come back and chime in with that that answer, and we'll move over to some of the stuff that we have here on our platform.
Yeah.
Eric is asking what learning program or editing platform for new beginners to learn how to do videography.
Uh, you like how to edit, or
Yeah, he did include editing, and then I fly Delta on Instagram. She was referring to editing as well. She replied back. So
I mean, to learn for beginners how to do videography. I mean, if for editing platform, if you're learning and just getting into it, DaVinci Resolve is a really good thing where you can get in there and get a free version, so you don't have to pay anything. I use Adobe Premiere, but they're pretty similar actually, uh, in their workflow. Um, but yeah, if you'd go Premiere, you got to pay, an annual rate or monthly rate or whatever. But with that, with DaVinci, you can get in there for free and just start, filming stuff, film family members, friends, and just kind of putting things together. And if you're just on your phone doing stuff, CapCut is fantastic. I use CapCut. I mean, everyone's using that, and just seeing what go through and see what other people are doing for their reels. I mean, I'm blown away at how people are getting so good at editing, like,
right, right,
and just like with phone stuff, and you look at this and you go, oh my god, that looks fantastic, and they're
right.
just doing it on phone and with CapCut. And so I mean, that's a good spot. And just watching a bunch of YouTube videos to kind of see, um, you know the basics of intro videography, that kind of thing. um,
Yeah, like so on like it's funny. I've known how to edit well before I became a photographer. My background is music.
yeah,
So my degree is in recording arts. I learned obviously editing audio inside of Pro Tools, but then when I ended up sitting down and looking at something like Adobe Premiere, it was the same thing as Pro Tools. The tools look the same, they function in the
yeah,
same manner. So I was able to pick up video editing um, pretty easily just from knowing how
Yeah,
to split audio and that sort of thing. But if if you're a photographer who's getting in to videography, inside of the Adobe subscription that you already have for Photoshop, you can get that. You can get
true.
Premiere. So
True. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you're looking to jump into this space, yeah, and you already have Photoshop, that's for sure. So yeah, I think they have different subscription plans where you can do only Photoshop, but if you don't, yeah, I mean, just go look in your suite, creative suite, and see. But yeah, if you've got it already, I mean, go ahead and that's the way I go. But people have all kinds of varying opinions on which one's best and all that. But
right.
and they're changing constantly. The updates and the features and all this stuff are really changing. But
Yeah, so Derek is asking, he said, I'm not sure. Do you also work in photography or just videography and cinematography?
so I'm 95% videography with some photography, and photography has always been my uh, Achilles heel, where I feel I think I do pretty good, but I'm very hard on myself. Like, oh man, this looks like shit, or I'm just very negative about my photography work when I probably shouldn't be as negative as I am, because I
Right.
think it's really fun to do, and I think you can get just a really good creative different outlet. But I just beat myself up too much for it. So even if people reach out and say, "Hey, I'd love for you to do photography for me," I always second guess myself. And so I mainly do it just for like my kids and stuff like that, with a few gigs here and there, but not very often.
That's crazy.
But
I
I
didn't
would like
know.
to get into it more, but I just haven't.
Yeah, I didn't know you touched photo at all, but most people don't know that I touch video at all. In
Yeah,
fact, I'm sponsored by Zion. So,
yeah, that's awesome.
but I take a limited number of videos, but my team. And I actually, who got me doing video was Steven. So I started working with Steven and Brian the early
Yeah,
years and just kind of, working with them. And, Steven just kind of dropped me into videography. I picked it up, because
yeah,
composition, lighting, or whatever, you have those foundations.
yeah.
You can learn how to tell a story if you don't know how to tell a story. So,
Yes, yes.
um,
Yeah, I mean, coming from a photographer into it, yeah, like you said, composition is lighting and figuring out light and just looking at a room and being able that is so important. And a lot of videographers kind of even don't utilize that, but you really got to look for that stuff, especially on like a wedding day or like event of like on the spot, figuring out your lighting and getting your composition. And that really helps once you get all that, that really helps with your storytelling. But yeah, that stuff's crucial. And just the basics of ISO, shutter speed, all that stuff with a photography background, you'll sink right in pretty easily. And then you could focus on the creative stuff more than like the physical, technical stuff.
So going back over to Instagram really quickly, iFly Delta, she's asking, do you recommend SSDs for editing to avoid lag?
Yeah. So I have a few. Yeah, I use SSDs that I bring with me when I travel. They're just super fast, and I also try to keep enough space on my actual laptop for, especially for the ones that I have to do like same day edits or something really quick. I'll dump it all directly onto that's the fastest. But yeah, SSDs are great, and then having some kind of like storage bank, when you start really doing a lot of terabytes of footage type stuff, um, is clutch. It's worth investing in later down the line. But getting yourself a couple of, 4 terabyte kind of things, SSDs is perfect to get you going.
Yeah, I use, I don't know if you guys can see it, the little
Yeah,
ScanDisk.
those are great. Yeah,
This ones is portable. I can take them with me. I can edit video off of them. It's super fast. You got to be sure you get the one that's at least. I have the 2,000 megabits per second one, so it's
Yeah.
moving really fast. I had one of
Yeah.
the other ones, the version ones previously. Couldn't edit off of that. It drags slower. So
Yeah.
you need to be sure you get one that has a high megabits per second rate.
Yeah, and listen, you'll look at the price and go, "What the? Why would I get this one instead of that one?" But there is a reason why it is that. They look identical, and you're like, I'm not paying that." But there is a reason why it is more expensive, and
Definitely.
it's a one and done deal. So once you get it, you spent the money, and it's worth that extra money, whatever it is.
So Nikki is asking, what's a good beginner camera to start with video? Are the Sony series good for beginners?
I would say, yeah, absolutely. So that I shoot with Sony's. I started with Canon years ago, with the what was it called? The uh,
7D?
Canon 7D. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then jumped to the Mark II, and then after Mark II, I switched to Sony, and started with the I forget, but I remember I think it might have been the A3, and then moved to A3 from to A7S3, and then so I use A7S3s now, with an FX30 that I just use as like a back camera for ceremony type stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, um, that's a whole other thing too, like people debating what kind of thing. But to me, whatever you can afford, uh, they're all pretty great now, especially to learn and get in. They're all pretty great. They all have great stats, the quality of footage you can get. And so, but yeah, Sony for me just has been awesome. They're low light for video, and it's just really great, and it's very user friendly. The menus are all really user friendly, and so it's one of these where you can jump in and not, those menus can get overwhelming for people. And you're like, what am I looking at? And it's like it has like a list of 1 through 10, and then the one goes into a list of 1 through 20, and then that goes into an. So it's overwhelming. But with Sony, I found like it's very easy to understand what you're looking at, to change, to customize to yourself. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
So let me chime in on that 1 second. Videographers, let me get close for a second. Just because it's good in low light doesn't mean don't use light. Oh my god.
I hope that isn't what I hope that's not what I meant, or what it came off as, because you absolutely need to use light. Um,
Use the
you
light. I
need to
don't,
bring your light. You need to bring your light.
it doesn't matter that it goes up to 12,500, 120 some thousand or whatever. Use
Absolutely,
light everything, people. Oh my god. Sony's
absolutely.
kill me, bro. Kill
But
me.
you gotta, yeah, you gotta enhance your subject with light, and so it all just blends into, even if it's exposed, it looks ratty. You need to separate your subject with light, and so, but yeah, I mean, but it does come in handy, like if you're in a pinch, I would say, especially, uh, for newbies or people who might not have lights yet. You
Right.
need to invest in lights, but it is a nice thing to have in your camera.
So Alexis is asking a non photo related question or video question. She wants to know, what
Okay.
is Simone Biles like?
Oh, Simone Biles. Yeah, that's another celebrity one. That was last year. So she got married out in the Nobu Hotel in Cabo.
Oh, nice.
And she couldn't be nicer. I mean, couldn't be nicer. Her and her husband Jonathan were just absolutely amazing, um, and their wedding was just so perfect. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I mean, it really was one of my favorite weddings. And they did just smiles constantly, and just so personable, and so much fun. And it was great because her maid of honor, I filmed the maid of honor's wedding
Oh, yeah,
like a
yeah.
couple months later, and Simone was her maid of honor. So it was a link back with the same crew, like right after each other. So that was cool. Um, and they're just super sweet. So it was awesome. Yeah, and
Uh,
then that other friend's wedding, it was cool. She did a backflip on the dance floor in the dress, the whole deal. It's just sick, man. Just so much fun.
oh man. Dave wants to know if you are editing your own films.
I do edit my own films, and that's one of these things too, man. That's been like I got to get out of that. But
Yeah.
yes, I do edit my own films, but it gets a little overwhelming sometimes. But I mean, I've tried because the ideal would, of course, be to outsource that and have an editor. And I've tried before, and it just I got to try again. I got to figure it out, but um, it just took more work to go back in and fix. It basically just starting from scratch. And there's nothing worse than starting from scratch after you see something already done because that's now in your head. And so I'd rather just start from blank. But again, I got to figure it out. But yes, I do edit my own stuff. Um, and I definitely have a style, I would say. And you know, that's the hard part too. Like, trying to keep, let's say this. So I watch other wedding videographers, and a lot of them I see you go through their like Instagram page, and it's the same. Every wedding looks exactly the same. It's a drone shot that goes to the dress, that goes to the details, and it's like very formula. And of course, the couples don't really know because they get their own video and they watch it, and it's a much easier to edit that way because you kind of do I put my drone shot. I know what's next. I just put in the puzzle pieces, but the puzzle is already there. But to create something that's different than your last one is where it gets a little like, okay, you really got to start thinking outside the box and thinking creatively and customizing something for each couple where they're like, okay, wow, this is so us. And so you want that vibe. You want something that they watch it and they go, "Damn! I mean, this is us. This is how
Right.
we all. This is and your cookie cutter one may get that for some, but it probably isn't going to get it for everybody. So it's really kind of taking a lot of time to get in there and craft something that's specific for whoever you're doing it for, um,
Yeah, because we
which
have
can
a
get
colleague.
daunting.
Yeah, we have a colleague here that and it's ironic because until you said that, I completely forgot about him. I assume he's still around, but this dude, next day, trailers are done. Very next day. But his thing is everything is a formula. So he may have two or three teams going on the
Yeah,
same day, and then still cranking out, trailers the
yeah,
next day, 48 hours, being able to deliver the stuff, which, for if you don't necessarily care about having a style and you want to do things on volume, so be it. Like, I have photographer
yeah.
friends who do, multiple, almost multiple seven figures in photography just by doing volume. They don't care about doing anything that's creative. They don't care
Right,
about I've seen some of the editing. They don't care about matching white balance between the cameras. You know what I'm saying? They just
right,
want
right, right,
that money. And it's nothing wrong with that because there's a
right.
place for
Yeah, sure,
everybody or whatever. But
for sure.
those are also not the people that are gonna get the higher end, weddings, and then the higher end type of clients, because they're looking for something that's more tailored, something that's,
Yeah.
curated specifically for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, doing that kind of how'd you phrase it? The mass production wedding. I've never that seems so overwhelming to me. Like having I mean, it seems like more of a pain in the ass than anything.
Right.
But some people really vibe with that kind of workflow. Yeah, you can charge a little, people like that charge a little less, but you do a lot more work. You send your crews out, and that's a whole different ball game that I don't do. But I know a bunch that do that style, and it's just, I think to me that's a different left brain, right brain type of mentality of how going into this kind of thing.
Right.
Um, it's doing a lot of works, a lot of weddings, but making a lot of money, and it's just kind of more of a business. Get them in, get them out, and
Right.
so that's one way to approach it for sure.
So on Instagram, here comes the right family is asking, what continuous lights do you recommend?
Well, gosh, there's so many now, and I'm at the point where I need to upgrade mine, but I use the Practilite 602s, which I've for events. I think they're fantastic. They got the barn doors. They're bicolor. They're LED. They have against spot or flood, and um, you can control with the app. But the throw isn't that intense.
Right.
But for me, I don't know if I necessarily need that much, but I see what's out there now, and they since when I got them, the technology has changed a lot, and so I'm at the point too myself where I need to start looking into what's out there more, and probably get some new lights. But that's the ones I use right now, the Practilite 602s, and then I have the Stella Pro. But
CLX 10.
Well, I have the CLX 10s, which
Mm-hmm.
I use for corporate. But with weddings, the reason I stick with the Practilites is that for the CLX 10s, you have to change from daylight to tungsten. You got to like change out the
Right.
bulb. With this, I can just change it on my app, on my phone. So that's the reason why with weddings I keep it like that. But for corporate stuff and interviews, I'll bring those out because they're great and they're powerful. And then what's the other one? I have the Reflex S. I have those
Yeah.
little. They're like little baseball size, and those are dope. So I'll have those two with my Practilites and either throw them up or just kind of like an exit. Just holding it super bright and like walking back with the gimbal and holding one of those, just super bright and really good light. So I
Yeah.
definitely recommend those too.
Internally, I'm using the Nan lights, mostly the 300. So I have a number of them. This is a 500. That is a 150, but I have 300s that we use for wedding ceremonies. It gives us that opportunity to be able to throw light because it has the reflector on it, right? We can
Right.
barn door it if we need to be able to do that. If I'm doing something like quick and dirty, though, real talk, I have the CLX 10s, but this has been clutch.
Good
This
Lord.
is 100 by this is from Zion. It's a 100. It's a super small light. It's smaller than my camera, right? So it's maybe about like this big, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, this box just has like a soft box, a Bowens mount adapter, like all of this stuff like that in it. So the box seems like it's big, but literally it's this size. As we start to go
Wow.
through some of the other questions, I'll go ahead and pop that out so y'all can check that out. But it's pretty inexpensive light, and it's really cheap. So I'll
Wow.
bring
That's awesome.
as we start to get into some more questions. Who's next? Um, Jay Banks is asking, what is your class going to be about at Bokeh Summit?
Yeah, so it'll be about like focusing on your own style and videography, and then also trying to leaning into a little bit about trying to get your some tips on how to get your video more, try to get more viral. So, um, kind of editing techniques, what to do before and after, and figuring your own style and trying to find an audience that way. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So here's that light. Like it's tiny, bro.
Oh wow!
Super tiny light. Here's a little battery pack so you can get additional batteries and stuff like that to to attach to the side. but you literally just take it and plug that sucker into the side, and this is the actual light itself. It's front.
Wow.
There's a little mount where you can mount it on mount it on the Bowens mount, and then use the softbox. So if anybody here was in my Texas school class, we literally use this to do couples portraits inside the hotel on a mag box, 24-inch mag box. No, we use the Westcott Octa M attached. And I literally did couples portraits on this. This battery lasts, I think, roughly about 45 minutes or so on full power, and you can just swap it out. But this little thing, super compact, very powerful, and definitely
That's
recommend
dope.
checking that out. So,
That's dope.
let's see, we got that one. Has Tony always been video only or hybrid? We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Alexis, um, what is your favorite simple rig for quick influencer style videos?
Um. Well, I mean, my rig is really simple. I mean, I use the DJI Ronin S2 Pro, um, and uh, have my lights off camera, and then I do um, the the wireless Go 2 Rode mics. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's real simple. I don't like, and now I'm constantly trying to figure out uh, different things to do, social content with, to attach to the rig. And so finding little arms, and I found this one cool little device, like a magnet pod to put your phone on, which I was able to put on my gimbal and get some phone footage while filming. But I mean, I think less is more when you're on your feet all day, 12 hours, and I'm on that gimbal a lot, and so the arm starts getting hurt, and so lighter is better for me. But yeah.
Jess is asking, what's your favorite event to shoot and why?
Um, I really like corporate events, um, like conferences and stuff like that. Um, they're pretty easy, and that you can really give them, because those clients really aren't expecting. They're used to corporate video work, which is a little different. So you can really, if you throw something at them that's like really cinematic and like hype and dope, and they're like, oh wow, okay. So seeing that expression from them is pretty rewarding. Um, but yeah, all events are pretty fun, and like the celebrity stuff is pretty fun. But you gotta battle with a whole bunch of other photographers, videographers, a whole lot of people you gotta battle. So
I
um,
hate doing celebrity events, bro.
it's tough putting it together. Like, no, when you walk out and you got dope stuff and you're excited to edit, that's fun. But the grind of the actual being there, like, I mean, fighting like a wall of people to get to, is tough. So
I shot in a few events for a really big, social personality. This dude was killing the game, and he had he had his birthday dinner. They rented out the Georgia Aquarium, so the tunnel where you walk through the
yeah,
shark
yeah,
food.
yeah, yeah.
Rented out all of that. You had tables set for, I think it was about 30, 40 people or whatever, estate style, right? But all of the
Right.
people that they invited were influencers themselves. So you
Oh,
had all of them brought their own videographers and
oh,
so now I'm there to photograph, to capture the event the way that we normally capture the event. And when I tell you, these people were just in the way the whole
Of course.
time, man. The whole time. You got to figure out how to get your shots around them because
And
now
they don't
you're
care.
they don't care, bro. They'll stand there and
They're,
look you
they
right in your
they
face.
are there for that one person in particular, and yes, they will be right there. And then they have their cheap little LED lights, so that's now all in your. And so then you got these little, and they're not in the right color balance or anything, and it's just like, get out of here.
Yeah, man. Like, oh,
So, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's a pain.
it's a pain. Let me see. Said if you're familiar with Adobe shortcut keys, they're pretty much the same in all programs. Yep, Michael, we got
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, Jamel is asking, what's the minimum gear requirement for a photographer to offer short form video?
I mean, if the camera is the big thing, and I would say invest in just some audio, because I'm one that shoots on the gimbal a lot, but there's plenty that don't want anything to do with the gimbal. They shoot handheld, and that they form a style that way, and so
Right.
there you go. You don't even need that, and if you do, maybe a little monopod or something to go around and just plant and get your stable shots and take it off and. But yeah, I mean, audio, and you probably already have lighting that is something that can do continuous light. Um, so yeah, audio would be your big thing, and audio is nothing to be slept on. I mean, that's like more than 50% of the whole thing for me. I mean,
More than
you can
50%.
have something that looks fantastic, and you're watching, wow, this looks amazing, and then you hear that first, whenever, I don't know, if they put the vowels in and those vowels come in sounding like mess, you're like, oh, I'm out. But if you have something that sounds great and the video maybe isn't up to par with I would rather watch that,
Right.
So it is not to be slept on. Get some good audio and always have backups of audio. Plug into your DJ and
Right.
all that mess. Get as many audio as you can.
Many audio sources as humanly
Yes,
possible because you never know. But
yes.
what I will
You
say,
never know.
we've always used the DR10s for live mics,
Hmm.
excuse me, the Tascams, right? But
Yeah,
we've been using like these Rhodes.
yeah.
Now,
That's what I got.
the 32-bit floating is now Brian is definitely the one, or even Tony here would be the one to really dig into the super benefits of it. But that 32-bit float, nothing is ever peaked or blown out anymore. The technology that they're using now to be able to handle these your audio is insane.
Yeah.
Plus, these have internal recorders in them that are fantastic. So keep that in
Yes.
mind.
Yeah, and that's something you gotta, if you do get those, which is what I have, and they're fantastic. You got to go in and like change the settings to where it's recording. You can change it to when you turn the recorder on, it starts recording
Recording right away.
already,
Yep.
and then also records to the the one on your camera, the
Yep.
unit on your camera. Yeah. And so it goes into the camera, because you plug it in and you can go in there, but also it records to that as like a little hard drive. So
Yeah.
if you turn your camera off or something, you're still getting the audio through there, which is clutch.
Right, 1,000%. Yeah, that's been pretty
Yeah.
good. Let's see. Derek is asking us learn about what kit when you show up for a wedding. Okay, yeah, let's learn about what's in your
Yeah.
kit when you show up for a wedding, say 100 guests.
All right. Yeah, I do. So I have the three cameras, two A7S3s with the FX30 as the third one. Lenses, I have a Sony 14 1.8 and a uh, what do you call it? The Zeiss Batis 85 1.8, which I love that thing. That's my favorite gimbal lens. And I love getting close-ups with it. I love getting wide shots with that lens. And it just looks incredible. and then I have a 25 of that same Zeiss, and then some Tamron lenses. What is it? Because Tamron's a little different. It's like 25 to 70 or something like that. Their numbers are a little different, but I have two of those, and then 70 to 200. So those are the lenses I use, and then those mics, and then what's the recorder I have?
You got the
Jeez.
zooms.
Yeah, for the DJ, is it a Zoom? Yeah, I think it's a 32-bit float, and I just forget which one it is, but that one's clutch. Yeah, basically, anything you buy nowadays should have that 32-bit float, and that's
Right.
something you definitely want because that's just really great flexibility. It's not a guarantee because you still have to monitor it a little bit, but if you set it in a way that's you'll be pretty good. And then I have the gimbal and my lights, which we talked about already, and that's pretty much it. Um, Nothing too crazy. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. It's Derek Alexis. Since you focus on making the videos more cinematic, do you storyboard?
I do not storyboard. That's a good idea to do though, especially if you're that I used to not necessarily storyboard, but going into like not I just there were shots I knew I wanted to get and I'd make notes like, okay, I want to get this kind of shot. I want to get this kind of shot. And so that I wouldn't just forget because when you're first starting out shooting weddings, it's so overwhelming and you're like constantly on the thing, you'll forget those kind of shots that you wanted to get. And
Right.
so having a little note that you can kind of check here and there. But now I've just done so many that I get the shots that I know I like and then
Right.
try to always get something different. And that can be, simple things like say a first dance, instead of just being either a just static on them or b just on that gimbal, just constantly circling around them, or even just being in that dance floor space. My favorite stuff is like going outside into where the behind the arrangements and stuff and shooting through people and having them like this big on the frame instead of like just a medium shot. Really kind of just getting again lighting, shadows, uh and composition, just really kind of changing those out will really make your film more diverse and dynamic. So
Yeah, like I don't think people put enough emphasis on that, like being able to create that depth by shooting through elements, whether that's through the crowd, shooting through the decor pieces and stuff like that. It adds another level of depth because now it gives a user
absolutely.
perspective from the from somebody who's there watching, right? And yeah, it just adds a little bit of extra depth. And the same goes for photographers. Take those same shots. Now, granted, I shoot photo the same way that I shoot video. So
Yeah.
I'm shooting in sequence form. So
Yeah.
if you've ever worked with me or you've ever seen me working, like I'm running around, I'm taking the photographs, I'm taking my tight mid wides, I'm getting establisher shots, I'm getting those shots where I'm shooting through to be able to create depth as well. So I
Yeah.
definitely encourage you to add that stuff into your repertoire.
Yeah. And to add on to that, like um a lot of videographers will just kind of piggyback what the photographer is getting, and not really find their voice that way. You're just kind of getting whatever you're dealt with, whoever the photographer is that day, and kind of really just sticking next to them and getting that. And I would really try to encourage people to work as a team. And working as a team means you are an added component to that event. So you were hired, and they want to see what your poses are, what your ideas are. And so the idea is to, when it really all works well, is, oh man, the photographer is like, hey, do this, wow, that looks dope. And then when you go in, the photographer's like, oh, that's dope. And you're getting different stuff from different brains. So don't be afraid to really go in and kind of get the shots you want to get too. I think you're getting, and if they're good, the photographer will be like, oh, that's stuff that I didn't think of. And so it's just a constant weaving of different talents and creative eyes. Um, so really kind of that's the best way to kind of find your own voice. But there is a way to do it without, coming off as uh, uh, not so
Right.
nice,
Yeah.
which it's a fine. So you got to be confident in yourself, but it's not about being rude. It's about like, it's just that. And when that vibe going, the vibe's going, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're in it," and we're getting great stuff, and everyone's stoked. So, but there is a fine balance of like, don't be a dick.
Yeah, right. So that actually takes us into Alexis's next question, but it's nothing more of a pain in the ass than a pain in the ass videographer. Like, let's keep it 1,000.
Oh
Oh
well,
my
we
God.
could switch that up to a pain in the ass
Right.
photographer, which is just as
Oh,
bad.
so for somebody who does photo and video, I understand that we need to do our thing. Like the videographers do that show up, I got one tripod and I got a gimbal. And now during ceremony, you standing in the middle of the aisle. I can't get my wide shots. I
Now
can't get
that's crazy.
like standing in the middle of the aisle the whole time. I'm like, fam,
That's
buy
crazy.
gear. Stop posting online, because you want to make popular videos. If you're so
Yeah.
popular, buy some other gear so you're not in my way, standing in the middle of the
Yes.
aisle during the whole ceremony. But her question is, how can photographers work better with videographers at events? That is
Well,
legit.
listen, what Andre's talking about right now, definitely do not do, because that is, hey, you look bad to every guest there. You're like, they're looking at you like, why is this guy just standing there completely? I'm telling you, this industry is all about being nice and working well, because now Andre will never refer that guy ever again. Or I'm not saying you did, but you'll never want to work with that person again. But
Nope.
imagine y'all combined. I'm telling you, videographers, photographers are dope people to refer you. They're usually the people who get hired first. And when you get a bond with a photographer, it's just like going to work with a buddy. And
Right.
then, they're great referrals. So it's a matter of like, making their job easier by being professional and getting your own stuff. But for how can photographers work better with videographers? I mean, I guess it depends on the videographer. 'Cause if somebody like he's describing right now, that's just a tough day, because that person just doesn't know, or doesn't care, and hopefully it's doesn't know. If it doesn't know, they can learn from it, and like Andre could go up and say, "Hey man, do you mind going over there?" But if it's someone who doesn't care, if Andre goes up and says, "Hey man, do you mind moving?" The guy's like, "No, I'm not moving." That's a different scenario. But I would say, just doing things like, some things that I love hearing from photographers are like, "Hey, is this flash going to mess you up during this?" And like, "No, it's fine." But just the simple ask is great. Sometimes if I'm filming like somebody reading the vows, or like we're in the getting ready portion, and I'm trying to get a nice moment of them writing their vows down, and sometimes the flash will be going pop, 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 and it's like, I'll have to say like, "Hey, do you mind real quick?" Oh yeah, no problem. But it's just being cordial and getting that thing out. And just asking, "Hey, are you good?" Like after the photos, like, "Hey, are you good? Do you want to get something?" Like that simple little thing for a photographer to ask a videographer is just, it's great, you know. And sometimes I find like where I'm kind of taking the lead, and so I do the same thing. "Hey, are you good, man? All right, now y'all got it for me. Can y'all go look over at her? Can you go look over at him? And let them get their shot." So it's just looking out for each other is probably the best thing I could say, and
And
going in the
especially
mindset that you're all like the same. Imagine you're all the same company. That you're co-owners of the same company, And so that's the kind of vibe you want to work with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and keep in mind, like me, like although I do photo and video, I only take 5 videos. I will only take 5 videos max. So I'm referring videographers more than I'm actually booking, because if I'm shooting 20, 30 weddings a year, right? And the
Right.
max I'll take on video is 5, that means I have so many other weddings that I can refer out to other people. And if we have a horrible working experience together, when that person comes up and they're like, "Oh, I'm like, oh, who you hiring for videography? Oh, I'm hiring such and such, or I'm thinking about XYZ." I'm like, fam, like, I'm not gonna block nobody from getting their money or whatever. But if we're in a situation where they ask me what my opinion is, then I'm gonna be honest. Hey, I think you
Yeah.
should hire this person instead because of XYZ, blah, 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 you know? And I mean that I need y'all to help me make my job easier and not make my job more difficult. So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah.
Let me see. Jamil is asking, who's your favorite filmmaker and why?
Uh, for weddings and events, I would. Oh gosh, why am I? Let me pull up. Why am I blanking? I'm bad at. I'm blanking out. I do like Ray Roman stuff. I mean, he's been in the game for a while, and um, uh, he does really good work. There's a lot of people now that are really inspirational and doing stuff. Um, Justin Porter's another one that's kind of creating his own lane. It's different from my style, but I appreciate it, and I love the results of what he's getting. Um, it's just a different way of approaching things, which is great because there hasn't been a different way of approaching things in a while. Um, but gosh, my favorite, and I'm forgetting their names. Shoot. If I think about it, I'll just pipe in later with it, but I'm gonna look for it.
So I see Derek has a question. He's asking who's the videographer for the summit. I'm assuming you're talking about capturing everything. It's my team. So I'm bringing in my team to come in and photograph everything and do video of everything. So for those of you who have the VIP, and we'll have the replays. That's all stuff that's going to be done in house by my team. Dwayne is asking, what is your favorite focal length?
Like I said, on that gimbal, that 85 Zeiss Batis is my favorite. I think it's crispy. It's um, and I can get those medium shots, close ups just by moving back and forth. Getting wide shots with that lens looks really fantastic to me. So that's probably my favorite.
Got it. Dave is asking, any advice on pricing would be really helpful when it comes to packaging photo and video.
Uh, I mean, it's just a matter of finding something it's a balance of finding what you feel you're worth with what people are willing to pay and what your market is, what city you're in. I mean, that's a big factor. And kind of and then testing it, if you're booking a lot, but you're overbooking, you're like, "Oh, man, I'm overwhelmed," then maybe it's time to raise it, and if you raise it and you're still getting it, then raise it again, and
Right.
that's the thing. You can do whatever you want with your pricing. It's about getting booked, so if as your work gets better, raise it, and, if you feel you went too high, you can always bring it back down, so, um and good planners will always ask, like, "Hey, is your pricing consistent?" Or have you changed your pricing? Instead of like, if you send them a package, or your price list, like a year ago, and they're not just sending that same one, they're asking you if your prices have changed and stuff. So, um, but yeah, it's a matter of just kind of figuring out, like, how are your bookings coming in? If it's dry, I wouldn't say just lower it all the way, but trying to figure out like, I'm one of those too. Like if you got a gig that's really dope and it's travel and they don't fit your budget, but you really need it for your real kind of figure it out, make it work because you never know who's going to be there. If say the photographer referred you to that one, you don't know who the planner's going to be. You don't know the couple. You don't know who's there as guests. You could book 5, 6 different events out of that, you know? So people will say like, don't do free stuff ever. Don't ever do it. And I'm like, nah, I did plenty of free stuff or cheap stuff
Right.
to kind of, and made some awesome connects that way. So you got to figure it out if it's worth that, your time. Cause that's what you're really paying for is your time.
Yeah, for me, um, I'll do free. I won't do cheap. Right.
Yeah,
I
true,
mean,
true,
and that's primarily because free I can control,
true.
um I can control everything, right? You didn't pay me, you get what it is that I give you type thing. If I discount it, then you're looking for me to give you the same level of service or value that you didn't want to pay for, right? So that's just my
Right.
philosophy behind it. And truth of the matter is I do a lot of free stuff, right? um
Yeah.
but those are the things that I want to do, right? So it's not like it's
Yeah.
like super grueling. So I do a lot of free stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but also do a lot of high paid stuff as well, right? So it
Yeah.
balances out. And again, it's based on how much of my time I'm willing to give up. When it comes to
Yeah.
packaging photo and video, like he said, know your market, because I think people look at other people and say, well, this person is charging XYZ. But one, you don't know what value that person is adding or not adding for that price, whether it be high or low.
Right.
Can you provide that same level of service and consistency? You have a lot of photographers that are offering videography. They're finding a body, somebody to go in and record video, but the video was trash. But if your client is expecting the same level of what Tony is delivering, you can't charge the same. I mean, you can, but you can't
Right.
charge the same amount of money that Tony is charging when you're not providing that same level of service, right? So
Right.
these are all things that you have to keep in mind. Cost of goods, which includes how much you need to pay for videographers to come in and come capture for you if you're not physically doing both photo and video, right?
Right.
Um, Two of my really good friends, Stephen and Brian, they bounce back and forth between photo and video all day long. They're very good at that. So they just need people that are solid in whatever it is that they're doing, not necessarily an expert at being able to capture photo or video. So you have to take those things into consideration when you're looking to figure out how to price that out. Because let's say Tony will second shoot for you today. Tony's not gonna be the $250 second shooter for you today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna happen. Not unless he decides he wants to do it out of the goodness of his heart, right?
I gotta really like that person.
and and me, I have friends that I don't charge at all to second shoot, and they don't charge me at all to second shoot. I'm
Yeah.
free, cool, yeah, I cool. Put me on the calendar for that day or whatever. But you have to keep those types of things in mind when you're creating your prices, your pricing and your packaging.
Yeah.
Let's see. And Jonas, our last question that we have right now, do you color grade these video or do you personalize the settings for fast editing, excuse me.
Yeah. I color grade each video. I get So here's the basis of my editing for, let's say, a teaser trailer. Um, I find the music first. I find the audio clip. So I basically do all audio first and lay that down. And then kind of get a story, figuring that out. And then I start going into the footage. And then with the footage, it's kind of, interweaving everything. And then with the color grade, so with weddings, I don't shoot S-Log. I do S-Cinetone and Sony. It's just a lot easier, and then it's quicker, and um, for them too. Like a lot of clients will buy the raw footage, and if I'm sending them S-Log footage, they don't know what the hell they're like, "What is this? This looks like mess. I paid for this." And so, at least S-Cinetone, you can look at it and it looks, pretty good. The average person would go, "Oh, this looks fine." But it's a good basis for me to start. And then I do all my color grading in Premiere. Um, and then I mean it's just kind of, it depends on the clip, the venue, the place, and the event, um figuring out, but just trying to sync everything up, match, and line up. And then I'll do like sometimes, not all the time, um what do you call it, an added layer where I'll put a LUT or something on top, where it's a consistent throughout the whole clip. So once I grade each clip, then I put a LUT over all of it. And sometimes I don't always do that, but sometimes depends on the event. But yeah, easy.
That's, that's what's up, man. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have actively at the moment. And again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but if you guys have not already signed up for the Bokeh Photo Summit, what the hell are you waiting on? Right? Be
Yeah,
sure you
sign
go
up.
and sign up. If you use code Tony, you'll receive $100 off your registration. We are getting to that point where we're almost in time for the show. I'm actually turning in the badge names to get printed here in a couple of days. And if you don't sign up soon, you're gonna have a badge with a generic name. And I've come up with some really funny ones. So if you don't
You
want to
don't
be
want
at
that. You don't want that.
all right, if you don't want to be at the summit with a badge that says Tits McGee or Gordon Gartrell, then definitely go ahead and sign up there. But we thank you all for all of your questions. I know some of you are still hanging around on Instagram. Hopefully, that's because one, you want to learn, but two, you know that as I do these giveaways for free tickets to the summit, if you aren't active, if you're not on, yeah, Joel Gordon Gartrell, 100%. Anybody who knows that reference, chime in right now. Tell me what you know. Right? But we're gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. I've been compiling the names as everybody's been asking their questions, so we're gonna go ahead and do the giveaway. But if you are not present, then guess what? We pick somebody else. So let's go ahead and get this up on screen.
Good luck, everyone.
Let me see. There we go. Percent. Right, just right. Cosby Show. Right? Cool. So we have our wheel of names. We're gonna go ahead
Hey.
and get things going. Let me just double check something here. Yeah. Okay. I thought I had Jess. All right. Here we go. Nikki B. She was with us on Instagram. Let's see if she's.
Hey.
Let's see if she's still around. We'll give her a couple of minutes to figure out, or a couple of seconds here to see if she's still there. But if not, oh, I see it just popped up for Instagram. We got a little bit of a lag, so let's see if she chimes in. Nikki, are you still with us? If not, we're moving on. We're moving on. Go 3, 2, 1. Moving on. We got another name. She's gonna be salty too.
Oh, totally. Miggity
Michael.
Mike.
Let's see. Is Michael still on? Let's see if Michael is still here. Mike,
Where
you've
you
been
at,
on
Mike?
a few webinars. You know how it goes.
Mike probably just went to the bathroom real quick. He's like, "Oh shit!" He could hear you from the other room.
Right. You gotta
Come on,
hold it.
Mike.
Let's see. And we're going in 3, 2, 1. Damn, 2 people down. Burn. Who else do we have? Oh, I know they're not there. Here comes the right family on Instagram.
Oh boy.
Ah, the Instagram people have been falling off.
Yeah.
Somebody said he's here. Who you talking about? Oh, Michael.
Oh, I
Mike.
see Mike. I'm still here. LOL. There's Mike.
Bro, where you been? You been on the toilet, bro? Like, what's going on? Cool. Well,
Yeah, I guess Mike's it, right?
yeah, Mike is it. He came back, and the other person hadn't chimed in. So he said that's why I don't play the lotto. My luck is. I feel you, bro. It would be a waste of money. So Michael, yeah,
I
you
think
can reach out. What are you gonna say, Tony?
you got to give Mike one of the fake name ones, so because he
Right,
didn't answer promptly.
right. We call
No
it.
offense, Mike. What'd you say, Tits McGee?
Yeah, Tits McGee. He's gonna be Tits McGee. I see somebody. I see some people reference the Cosby Show one, but who knows where Tits McGee comes from? Please tell me. If nobody know, I'm gonna be so disappointed if nobody knows Tits McGee. But either way, we thank you all for joining us on this live. Hopefully, we will see you all here in Atlanta next month. Come hang out with me. Come hang out with Tony as we, provide some really awesome education for you guys. So, Michael, you know how to get in contact with me already. Jay Banks, no, you don't know where Tits McGee comes from. The Anchor Man, folks, the Anchor Man. But
Anchorman.
right. The L Suite, thank you for chiming in. I see you there still with us on Instagram. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Again, if you want to sign up, use code Tony for $100 off your registration. And y'all have a good day.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. That was fun.
And stream, we're out of this stream.